Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop. Today I want to share something new. These are taps. One of them is a traditional cutting tap like we've all used, and the other one is called a forming tap. Really kind of interesting, and I want to get your opinion on a few things. So I've recently been turned on to this forming tap, actually by Jeff at Reed Tools. He's doing some experimentation on tapping holes, and traditional cutting taps actually cut the threads out. There are a whole bunch of knives in here that slowly peel it out, and you have to work it in and back it out and work it in and back it out, but they actually cut the threads. Whereas a forming tap actually just compresses them and squeezes the wood back out of the way. And I was kind of like, well, I don't know how that would actually work out well, because your assumption is the wood would slowly work its way back a little bit, but that actually could be a good thing. You put the nut in and the threads crush back down on it. So as with anything in my world that says, ooh, now we need to do a test then. But then that throws in, well, what exactly am I testing? Is one better than the other? Well, what are the parameters that would make one better? What is the torque required to pull one out? Well, then, do I use the super glue trick to make the threads a little bit better? What am I testing how easy they are to put in and out? Because with the cutting thread, you have to run it in and back it out and run it in and back it out and run it in and back it out to clear all the chips out. Otherwise, they just start crushing things. But if they're crushing things, doesn't that make them a forming bit? So is there any difference? Is there a difference between running this in and running it out and just running it all the way in with a drill, as opposed to running the forming bit all the way in? It's at this point that I see all sorts of cool spreadsheets coming in, and I start thinking about, ooh, I could do that, or I could do this, and yeah, but then there's a whole bunch of other parameters, like, am I talking about strength over time? Am I talking about the force required to remove the bolt? In other words, will shaking shake it out of a cut hole and it won't shake it out of a threaded hole? There are lots of other parameters, and I'm kind of interested to see, is this something that's just kind of interesting that would be fun to look at but has no practical purpose, or does it actually have a practical purpose? Because the more I do it, the more I find that I use standard bolts and nuts threaded into wood. It actually works out really well, and threaded bolts directly into wood are incredibly strong. So this is something I want to experiment with and play with more. So I decided to do an initial dumb test where I drilled in 3 holes of each one and found which one went in there. I found that with the cut threads, the bolt tends to wobble a little bit in the hole. Part of that's because when you back it in and out and in and out, you actually start to ruin the threads right at the top. Not a huge amount, but a little bit. And then with the formed hole, I found them to be a lot harder to put in, but with a screwdriver, it actually goes in relatively well and is a really nice tight fit. It actually feels kind of good, so that made me think the formed bit is better. But that's just one hole. So I started drilling a bunch more, and I found it to be pretty common throughout them. Then I thought, let's actually cut them apart and take a look at them. And the formed hole is actually really nice and clean, almost shiny. They've been basically burnished into place. Whereas the cut hole is actually really degraded and not as clean as I would want it to be. It was kind of well, that's not as pretty as I would like it to be. So the more I look at it, the more I actually kind of liked the formed thread screws. They are really pleasing. But a dozen holes in a single board does not a spreadsheet make. So I want to do a test on this, but I want to know from you guys, what parameters would you find to be important? What test would actually work out well between these? I'll leave a link to the ones I have down below, and I'm trying to find a supplier of the formed threads. If you know of someone who sells them at a better price or at a, even a bulk, let me know that. I'm actually buying mine from McMaster Carr, so I'll leave a link to that down below. I don't know. Is this a good idea? Would this be something that would be fun? On top of all that, I think I'm going to try out a couple other taps. I know a Wood Whisperer has a set of taps that are designed for wood. They're all a thread cutting type. And I think I want to do some experimentation on this. So if you have things you would like to see me actually test, different taps, different methods, different actual tests, let me know. This sounds like a lot of fun and something that would make a really good data sheet. So yeah, form cutting tap, new to me. and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you do have any thoughts, comments, ideas, things I should test, let me know that down in the comments down below. I will read through all of them, and I will respond to as many as I possibly can. So thank you for helping out, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. If you do want to help out the channel, you can hit like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those things actually do help us out and keep us in front of more people. Thank you for that. And if you want to take it one step farther, there are patrons on Patreon. Everyone's scrolling over to the side, as well as members on YouTube who've clicked the little join button. It's members and patrons that allow me to do weird tests and try out new things and buy equipment to do this. So if you want to help out with that, you can find out more about Patreon down below in the description, or click the little join button and become a member on YouTube. So I think that'll do it for now, and until next time, have a wonderful day. Oh, tapping for help.